Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hey, Owen, this is Vivi from California, and I just wanted to bring to your attention that a new bill in Oklahoma, brought to us by Dusty Deavers, is trying to ban all adult entertainment, let's say, within the state. And I just want to know, like, how the hell do you think they're going to enforce this if it passes, or if it'll even pass? Okay, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, appreciate the voicemail. Dusty Deavers is somebody that I've been paying close attention to. It just so happens that my wife works for American Atheists, tracking these types of bills. The thing is, like, on a state level, insane bills are posted all the time. Like, there was a bill even on the federal level recently to abolish all income tax completely. It's not going to pass. It's just right-wing nutcases virtue signaling that they believe that taxes shouldn't exist or whatever stupid shit, so that they can get the votes of the Libertarian Party. Dusty Deavers is doing the same thing in Oklahoma, although it's a little different with Dusty Deavers because he genuinely does believe this. He genuinely wants to get rid of adult entertainment. And we're moving in a direction right now where it might work. Right now, I don't believe there's any way that they're going to be able to ban adult entertainment from the internet. Absolutely no chance. But as we move forward, as they chip away at it and try to accomplish their goals, they will eventually get where they're trying to eventually arrive. This is Dusty Deavers talking about that. Give this a listen. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, let's continue.
From a pastoral standpoint, it should be very evident and clear why Satan would want young men, especially, bound up and their consciences overburdened in conviction from porn usage.
My conscience isn't like overburdened. I mean, I have a wife, so I don't even need to do that. But there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes I get on Reddit and I see people like make a joke about this and say that like they're trying not to do this. It's like, why? Why are you trying not to do this? There is literally no downside to this. None. It's like, Dusty Deavers or whoever, they will pick one of the 6 incidents of like genuine addiction in the world. They'll pick it. This is basically the equivalent of him pointing to a 1,500-pound person and saying, this is what happens if we don't ban food. We have to ban food. It is a natural process that everybody does, all the time. Maybe not every day, but all the time. And your mind will go completely insane without doing this, which is probably how we ended up with Dusty Deavers. Anyway, the point is that there is nothing wrong with this. Nothing. The only reason that he wants to ban it is for religious reasons. Interestingly enough, this is another case of them just fabricating religious justifications out of nothing. Saying that abortion should be banned. Why? The Bible is pro-abortion. It says you should get abortions. Numbers 5:11-23. It even gives you the cases in which you should get abortions. Like if your wife cheats on you, you should get an abortion. Really? Why are they saying that abortion is bad? I don't know about you guys, but when I was little, I was given the justification for not looking at adult entertainment. I was given the justification, or I was given the reason, I was given the verse that says something to the effect of, it's better to spill your seed in the belly of a whore than on the ground, or something to that effect. That's a fake verse. That's not in the Bible. It's not real. They made that up. Try to go look for that verse. It's not there. You will not find it. You know that verse that says Jesus orders his people to occupy until he returns? No, you don't. It's fake. It's another fake verse. These people just making up whole cloth. Like, it's not even a little bit in there. Anyway, Dusty Deavers doesn't just want to ban adult entertainment. There's other stuff he wants to ban too.
It's in the church too. Every person who's watching pornography knows in their conscience what wickedness it is.
There's no wickedness to be had here. No.
And how harmful it is.
It is not harmful in any way, shape, or form. This is like eating food. Can you overeat? Yeah, but how many 1,500-pound people are there? The point is, you should do things in moderation. When it starts affecting your life negatively, then you should slow it down. Then you should take an objective look at it. It's the same for any substance, any addiction. The addiction model basically says if it's adversely affecting your life, like if you are late to work because you're drinking alcohol, or you go out of your way to request time off or something so you can go to the liquor store early one day or something. In those cases, you might have an addiction. If you're doing it consistently, the exact same time, every single day or every whatever, you might have an addiction. Looking at adult entertainment is not an addiction. It doesn't work the same way. It doesn't affect people's lives the same way. It's completely different. If you are doing it 30 times a day and it doesn't affect your life in any way, it's basically just like using the bathroom or something, then there's nothing wrong with it. If you eat 10 pounds of cake in one day, as long as it doesn't adversely affect your life, there's nothing wrong with it. If you do that, it's probably a sign that there are some other things going on, like you're probably already severely overweight. But the point is, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing this act. It's how it adversely affects your life that's the problem.
But it's so hard to turn away from. And I'm telling you right now, if you will turn and look to Christ and see that what He has offered in His life, death, and resurrection, in the forgiveness of sins and eternal life with God, is infinitely more than anything you could ever find in the offerings of pornography. Christ offers true.
No, I don't think Jesus can give me what can. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't think God does for me what a woman would do for me. And it's kind of weird that Dusty Deavers says that he does.
Offerings of pornography. Christ offers true companionship. He offers true grace.
You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like what are those people called? Like the purity people, purity culture, where they have the purity rings and they take the pledge and they're basically dating their dads until the dad agrees to give their hand away to some other weirdo. What is that called? Purity culture, something or other? That's what it sounds like. Did God give you a wedding ring, an engagement ring, and you're just waiting for the right moment where God can hand you off to a wife or something? This is so creepy, bro. Don't do this. Honestly. Dusty Deavers doesn't realize how bizarre he is to the outside world.
And love. He laid down His life for you. Christ has offered you a paradise at the sea instead of mud pies in the slum.
Okay, well, I can have Christ if I want, and also adult entertainment. You know why? The Bible doesn't speak out against it. I guess there is that verse about looking at a woman with lust, but it seems to me that verse was more about consent or something. I don't know. I guess I suppose I would, maybe if the woman is okay with it, maybe if the woman is okay with you looking at her like that. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's not bad for you. And if Dusty Deavers is going to focus on this one thing, then he should also focus on getting out of government and focusing on God's kingdom and selling all of his things and giving it to the poor and loving immigrants, loving people from surrounding nations, taking care of the least of these among us. I think he should be focusing on that if he's focusing on adult entertainment. Let's do it all. Chips on the table. Or as Stu Peters likes to say,
nuts on the table. That's what we do here. This is nuts on the table journalism.
Nuts on the table, bro. Let's do it. If you're going to do it, then don't take a half measure. Go all the way.
You no longer have to be bound in addiction, which is a banquet in the grave.
Eating is not an addiction. It can be an addiction. It can adversely affect your life. It is not itself an addiction because it's a biological process that you must do. Looking at adult entertainment is not an addiction. Sleeping with your wife, sleeping with somebody, not an addiction, not dangerous, not bad for you. Isn't it interesting how they have a problem with people looking at adult entertainment and say it's bad for them? It's damaging. They have an addiction, but they don't regulate how much people sleep with their wives. Why doesn't he write a bill to limit the amount of times people can sleep with their wives to twice a week, and that's it? Can't do it outside of that because otherwise it's an addiction and it's dangerous. In fact, you shouldn't be doing it at all, honestly, because that's the road to addiction, right? And while you're at it, cut out food. That's early addiction. That's bad. He never talks about that. It's always about the thing that he is morally attacking.
You can be set free, not only from Christ. If you turn to Him, you will be set free, but also our laws need to protect us from this harmful, vile, wicked content that is everywhere in our culture.
And while they're at it, limit the amount of times you can sleep with your wife every week. Moral consistency, right?
Not only is it biblical to ban pornography, but it is also constitutional to ban this obscenity.
Okay. Now, I've been talking about this a lot lately. I have a new model that I'm probably going to be writing about soon, but the model, it basically goes like this in short. People have multiple moral frameworks that they adhere to. They have a primary and a secondary, oftentimes, and they try to follow both moral frameworks. But when one conflicts with the other, they always go with the other, which creates a cognitive dissonance between the frameworks. Let me give you an example. People claim to be pro-life because being, against abortion is part of their biblical whatever, even though the Bible doesn't condemn that. Okay, fine. That's part of their Christian belief, their secondary moral framework. But their strict father morality is their primary moral framework, and they believe that the death penalty is warranted sometimes. So they're not pro-life, actually. Like they say life is the most precious thing in the universe or whatever. They don't mean that. It creates a conflict between their moral frameworks, but they always go with their primary when that happens. Or banning trans people from bathrooms that match their gender, but not saying a word about priests that are moved around to be protected from prosecution when they take advantage of kids. So their goal is not to protect kids. You got to take it one level higher to their other moral framework, because using Christianity to justify it doesn't make any sense. Dusty Deavers is doing the exact same thing here. One moral framework says touching yourself too much is bad and addiction, and related to addiction, and can become an addiction. But he doesn't want to limit how much people sleep with their wives. So is it an addiction or not? You got to take it one level higher. He doesn't care about the addiction thing. He's very obviously lying. He's obviously manipulating people to get an end that he wants without really honestly coming out and saying what he's shooting for. Coming up with all kinds of ridiculous excuses that don't make any sense at all. That's Dusty Deavers. That is the entire Christian nationalist ideology, moral framework, if you will. Here's Dusty Deavers on stage with 4 other Christian nationalists having a discussion on a panel. This was from, I think this is from 2024. I don't remember now.
So I didn't catch any of the Allie Beth Stuckey trad wife conversation because I was out legislating morality.
And about time.
People are laughing and clapping because he is a state senator for Oklahoma, and the government is not supposed to be legislating morality. The U.S. government is supposed to protect people's rights. That is what freedom and liberty are all about. When you start legislating morality, you lose freedom and liberty, because the moral system that I have, the moral framework, it's different from the moral system or the moral framework that Dusty Deavers has. And honestly, Dusty Deavers' moral framework is very different from like Mitch McConnell's. Mitch McConnell's is very different from Donald Trump's. So the fact that he's trying to legislate morality means that he's trampling all over everybody else's rights, including Republicans. And aside from that, he's not legislating. He is legislating morality, but he's legislating contradictory moral values. Like he's banning adult entertainment. That's part of his moral framework that he's trying to legislate. But there is no moral consistency to be found in any of his other bills. So all he's doing is limiting freedom. That's it. It's not about making it a better society. It's not going to be a better society if he does that. It's certainly be a different society, but as morally contradictory as it is, it will not be a better society. Now, let me just show you what kind of person this dude is. One more clip from him. This is probably my favorite clip of Dusty Deavers.
When we saw churches closing for long periods,
I think he was talking about COVID.
we saw people, with this love your neighbor propaganda.
Love your neighbor propaganda. Oh my God, I cannot get past that. That is as ridiculous as talking about the sin of empathy. This is what I'm talking about. These people have a primary moral framework that they are referencing, that they're calling out to, they're signaling, and it's not Christian values. Christianity has nothing to do with it. Sometimes people virtue signal. I don't think virtue signaling is bad. I think that's a way overused term. I signal virtues all the time. I believe that getting money out of politics is virtuous, and I signal to that. I believe that it's virtuous to tax the rich. I'm signaling to that right now. Virtue signaling isn't wrong, but virtue signaling to things that are not virtuous, that are delusion in your head and based on delusion is wrong. So he's virtue signaling about this moral value that he has, or a moral value that he rejects. He is rejecting the concept of loving your neighbor. Love your neighbor propaganda. That tells me that he's looking to a different moral framework other than Christianity. What is it? What is it? Is it white nationalism? Is it libertarianism? Is it what, Republican ideology? What? What is it? Because it's not Christianity. Evangelical Christianity has formed its own moral framework independent of the moral framework that Jesus laid down for people. And it's completely contradictory to Jesus' moral framework. So it makes sense to me that he's probably going with evangelical moral frameworks, but it's all contradictory nonsense. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about this dude in the comments. It is just so insane to hear him talk sometimes.